Imagine this. A city is struggling with a massive rat infestation. Officials come up with a brilliant idea. They'll pay people for every dead rat they bring in. At first, it works. People hunt the rats, bring them in, and collect their rewards. The rat population starts to decline. The problem seems to be solving itself. But then, something unexpected happens. Instead of wiping out the rats, people start breeding them. Why? Because the government created a financial incentive for rats to exist. The more rats there are, the more money people can make. What started as a simple solution turned into a disaster. This isn't just a strange urban legend. It's a real economic phenomenon. And it has a name: the Cobra Effect. It's what happens when well-intended solutions create even bigger problems. And history is full of economic policies that completely backfired, some of which are still affecting us today. What if I told you that governments, banks, and even corporations have made decisions that were meant to fix economies, but ended up making things even worse? And here's the scariest part. We might be watching it happen again right now. If you think leaders always know what they're doing when they make economic decisions, this video will change your mind. Let's start with where it all began, the original Cobra Effect. The Deadliest incentive: how Cobras took over Delhi. It started in British-controlled India. The city of Delhi had a terrifying problem: too many Cobras. The British government decided to fix it with a bounty program. They would pay a reward for every dead Cobra. At first, it worked. Thousands of Cobras were killed, and the government handed out rewards. But then, something strange happened. People realized they could breed Cobras, kill them, and collect endless rewards. Some even set up entire Cobra farms just to cash in on the policy. When the British finally realized what was happening, they ended the bounty program. And that's when things got worse. Since the Cobras were now worthless, people released them back into the streets. The result? More Cobras than ever before. A program designed to eliminate Cobras actually made the problem worse. This was the birth of the Cobra Effect, when an attempted solution incentivizes the very problem it was supposed to fix. And it's not just about Cobras or rats. It happens in economies all the time. We'll dive into real-world economic disasters where governments made things worse by trying to fix them. And one of them? It's still happening today. We've already seen how a simple government policy in Delhi, designed to eliminate Cobras, ended up creating more Cobras than ever. It seems ridiculous, right? But here's the terrifying part: this wasn't an isolated case. The Cobra Effect isn't just about animals, it's about how bad incentives lead to economic disasters. Governments, banks, and even entire industries have fallen into the same trap, creating policies that were meant to fix problems but ended up making things worse. And one of the most shocking examples? It cost thousands of lives and nearly destroyed an entire economy. The Vietnam War and the deadly bounty system. History repeated itself in French-occupied Vietnam. Just like the British in Delhi, French officials faced a problem: Hanoi was overrun with rats. So they implemented a simple bounty system: pay people for every rat tail they bring in. The goal? Reduce the rat population without having to hunt them down themselves. But then, something bizarre happened. French officials noticed something strange. While rat tails were being turned in by the thousands, the rat population wasn't shrinking. They soon discovered why. People were cutting off rat tails and releasing the rats back into the city. Why? Because as long as the rats survived, they could keep reproducing, creating a never-ending supply of bounty payments. Instead of solving the rat problem, the government had created an economy that depended on rats thriving. And just like in Delhi, when the policy was finally shut down, the city was left with an even bigger rat infestation. It was yet another perfect example of the Cobra Effect, a bad economic incentive leading to disaster. But while this was a disaster for Hanoi, it's nothing compared to what happened in the modern economy. Because there's one economic policy that has backfired on a global scale. A policy that was meant to protect the economy but has made things even worse. Now we'll break down how this single decision has led to inflation, debt, and a financial crisis that could change everything. Governments create a policy to fix a problem, but instead, they make it worse. It happened in Delhi with Cobras. It happened in Vietnam with rats. But what if I told you it's happening right now, on a global scale? There's an economic policy that was meant to protect the economy, stabilize markets, and create prosperity. Instead, it's led to inflation, soaring debt, and a financial crisis that's still unfolding. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize what's happening. This isn't just a historical lesson. This is our reality. The money printing problem. When too much help becomes the disaster. When economies crash, governments step in to fix things. They do this by lowering interest rates and printing money. The logic? Make money cheap and available so people keep spending, businesses keep running, and economies don't collapse. It sounds like a good idea. But here's the problem. Every time there's a crisis, governments print more money. 2008 financial crash? Trillions were pumped into the system. COVID-19 pandemic? More money printed in a short period than at any time in history. At first, it seems to work. The economy recovers, people spend, businesses thrive. But behind the scenes? A disaster is brewing. Because when you create too much money without creating real value, you don't make people richer, you make everything more expensive. And that's exactly what we've seen: rampant inflation, skyrocketing prices, and rising interest rates that are now crushing businesses and households. What was supposed to save the economy has created an even bigger crisis. Just like in Delhi. Just like in Vietnam. A solution that was meant to fix things ended up making them worse. The debt trap. A system that can't stop itself. Here's where things get even worse. Governments don't just print money, they borrow it. Every time they stimulate the economy, they take on more debt. At first, borrowing seems fine. You can always pay it back later, right? But here's the trap. They never stop borrowing. The US, Europe, China, almost every major economy is drowning in debt. And now? They have two choices. Keycap 1: keep printing money, which fuels inflation and devalues currency. Keycap 2: stop printing and raise interest rates, which can trigger a recession or even a collapse. Neither option is good. It's the ultimate economic Cobra Effect. A system designed to protect the economy has created a situation where every solution leads to another disaster. And no one knows how to stop it. So, what can you do? If history has taught us anything, it's this: governments and central banks will always try to fix the economy, but their solutions often create bigger problems. So how do you protect yourself? Check mark. Don't rely on governments to fix the economy. They created the mess in the first place. Check mark. Invest in real assets that hold value. Inflation destroys cash, but assets like real estate, commodities, and stocks in strong industries survive. Check mark. Be aware of financial cycles. Booms and busts repeat. If you know what's coming, you can prepare before it happens. Check mark. Don't get trapped in bad incentives. Just like people who bred cobras and rats, many chase easy money without realizing the consequences. Because the next time an economic crisis hits, the solutions might make things worse again. And if you don't see it coming, you might end up as just another victim of the Cobra Effect. Final thought: are we about to see the next Cobra Effect? Right now, the global economy is at a crossroads. Governments have pumped more money into the system than ever before. Debt is at an all-time high. Inflation is out of control. And now? They're trying to fix it again. Will it work? Or will their next move trigger the next great economic disaster? The Cobra Effect has already reshaped history. Is it about to reshape our future? Fire. If you found this video eye-opening, hit like and subscribe for more deep financial insights. Speech balloon. What do you think? Are we heading toward another economic disaster? Let's discuss in the comments. Loudspeaker turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the financial world.